I brought in all the pieces for my first floor and the pieces I'll need to do the cutouts. Let's prepare that piece for the extrusion. With it selected, press F2, Control A to select all of our nodes, and click on Make Selected Segments Lines. Press F1 to go back to your Select tool. Make sure you've got a stroke applied, which I do. Extensions, Papercraft, Extruder. This is the height of my extension, how tall my first story is going to be. It's 3 inches, and the maximum length of the sides should be 11.4, so I can cut it. The rest of the defaults are okay. I'm going to click Apply. All right, now I'm just going to separate these out so we can see where everything is. Select the pieces we need. Those are our structure pieces. These are our wrapper pieces. And my wrapper pieces, I'm going to select all of those and make them a different color so I don't get confused. The other thing I'm going to do here is I can see where my wrappers are going to, or my wrapping of the sides is going to go around counterclockwise, starting the upper left. So I'm just going to come to my layer dock and delete it. You don't have to. It's just so I don't get it in the way and forget and actually try to cut it. Okay, so this piece here, the 0 piece, and the 0 piece wrapper are what goes over forms our bay window. The front of the house is going to be wrapper 1 and side 1. So wrapper 1 is this piece. Side 1, main side 0, main side 1 is this piece. Move these out of the way. And all I'm doing is moving these out of the way so I can work with the pieces for the bay window in the front of the house. I'm going to select all the bay windows in the front of the house pieces, and I'm going to rotate them all sideways. Makes it easier to work with our cutouts. Now I need to make sure my cutouts are centered inside of the various areas of the piece that we made. So I'm going to take my cutout piece, I'm going to duplicate that. That's for our windows on this piece. These are our bay window cutouts. I'm going to duplicate that and bring it up here also. Now we need to be able to center it inside of these squares. Simplest way to do that is draw a rectangle. Actually, before we do that, let's set snapping on, draw a rectangle, change that to yellow, make it easier to work with. I'm going to do a Control-Shift-C on this to change it to a shape. Then I'm going to take these two, and that one I want to have come up to the top, and select this. Control-Shift-A for your Align tool, just center it. Okay, that moved the entire piece. That's okay. It's just grab it and move it back so that it's centered inside of the score lines. We're going to duplicate that. We're going to duplicate that. And you can see that now it all fits in there very nicely. We're going to make a duplicate of that entire structure there. And bring it down here. Then we don't need these alignment squares anymore. Just select them and delete them. Now you'll see that we have these 3 pieces that we want to cut out. Let's make those into a single path with a Control-K, which is Path Combine up here. Path Combine. This is a very complex path. We're going to simplify it by breaking it apart, Control-Shift-K. Then we're going to take the main piece without the score lines and those three cutouts that we just made into a path, Control-Shift-, which is the same as path difference, and that gives us our cutout. The next thing that you need to do is send this piece to the back. And there's all your score lines and your piece. Make the whole thing into a path with a Control-K. Path combined. So our bay window structure is now cut out. For our bay window decorative piece, the decorative piece may have a slightly larger size than you created with this. So what I'm going to do here is select those three squares and see that that is a width of 4.350. This is a width of 4.353. So if I really want to, I can take that 0.03 of an inch and adjust it. In this particular case, probably not necessary. But what it wouldn't hurt to do is just change that. Select all and just 3. I could leave my windows the same size. Quite honestly, 0.03 of an inch is not going to show up. But now that I've got it matched in size, again with snapping on, I'm going to bring it up to the corner. We're going to select the 3 cutout boxes, Control-K, combine into a single path. Select our outer boxes. Oh, here. I'll select everything. Actually, I don't want to select everything. Okay. This piece I'm going to send down. Oh. I'm not sure why, but these 3 pieces should be a single path, and pushing it down. 1. Interesting. It's interesting what Inkscape just did there. But these 3 boxes I'm going to delete. All right. This complex piece back here, Control-Shift-K to break it apart. Take the main square or cutout pieces, Control-Shift-. Send it to the back and combine it back with the score lines, Control-K. So now we have our wrapper, our decorative paper. I'll bring that to the top. And it'll line up nicely. For this one, because we have the tab over there, we don't want to line it up in the middle. Bring this to the top so we can see I put the decorative paper on top of the structure paper, and now I want to be able to put my windows. Control-D, 2 windows, Control-D, and a door. I'm going to line those to the top. But trying to get it nice and spaced out on the first floor like I'd like is a little bit of a challenge, but there's a very easy way to do that, and I will show you what it is. With your Bezier tool, your B, simply hold your Control key and create a line. And on this side, create a line. This is going to be snapped to the side of where your decorative paper and your score lines for your main piece are. That's going to help us space things out. So we're going to take the line, the window, the door, the window, and the line, and we're going to space those out. Make the gaps between them equal. And we're done. I'm going to take this, this, and this, and I'm just going to move it down to where the door is touching the bottom. All right, I am very happy with that. So this is where we want to cut out. I'm going to select the window, the door, and the window, and Control K to make a single path. I don't need that line anymore, and I don't need this line anymore. I'm going to take this path we created with those 3 cutout objects and duplicate it. I'm going to take the piece in the front has no score lines on it, so I can just do a Control Shift minus with the cutouts and the front selected, and I now have my front piece cut out. The structure piece has score lines with it, so we need to Control Shift K to break it apart. Then select our cutout pieces, our piece that doesn't have the score lines, Control Shift minus, cuts it out, and then send it to the back so we can see our score lines. Control K to combine it back into a single piece. That's how I did the cutouts. Now, one thing to be aware of, one reason I duplicated the door rather than just cutting it out, we need to add a tab on this door. That's pretty easy to do, so let's just take a look at that. Let me zoom in on my door. Not quite that much. With your node tool, select the edge that you want to put the tab on. Then come up here and just add some extra nodes. That looks good. What I was looking for is that node and that node, because those are the ones we're going to pull out for our tab. The rest of them, I don't need. So I'll select them and Control Delete. Then select this segment right here and just do a Shift right arrow, and that'll pull it out for a nice little tab for gluing. Then you'll want to add a score line in here so your door can open and close on that with that tab in place. Use your Bezier tool. I press B for that, holding down your Control key to keep the line straight. Draw it most of the way, but not all the way. You want your fill panel. Control Shift F for your fill panel, and stroke style we want to change to dashes. A nice long dash. Going back to my select tool. Right now that is a path with 2 nodes. If you were to try to cut that on most cutting machines, it's just going to cut one solid line. So we're going to do 2 things. We're going to center it in our door. Again, Control Shift A to align, and we're going to align it up and down. Then we're going to select that path that's got a dashed shape or dashed pattern on it. Come up to Extensions, Modify Path, Convert to Dashes. And you'll notice now that it is no longer a path with 2 nodes. It now has 20, so it will cut very nicely. Select all of that and Control K. It changed its color. You can just set the color back. I'm going to save my file here. I'm going to call that first floor 1.svg. All right. So now if we look at what we have our bay windows cut out. We have our front windows cut out. We have our top piece, we have our bottom piece, and I want to do one more thing. I want to make that into a ring, so to make it easier for gluing. So let me move this out of the way. Duplicate this piece, duplicate it again, and change the color so I can see. Control open parent to bring it down to a nice ring, and select that outer shape and the inner shape. Control Shift minus to do a division or difference, and then we have our ring for gluing. Those are the pieces we need. I'm going to turn off snapping so I can see things a little bit better. All right, so we know that this is piece 0, piece 1, piece 2, and piece 3. And we are basically ready to cut at this point. You'll want to duplicate your window frames. You have 2 windows. You won't need the cutout anymore. Except, before I get rid of that, I made a vellum piece. All I did was just make this rectangle. I offset it or just made it larger so that when I wanted to glue this vellum piece on the inside of the structure, it would be easier to do. It just gives me a little easier area. If I was only going to glue to the frame, it would be tricky, but you could do that. You could leave that the same. We have 3 bay windows, so I need to duplicate this one twice. That one, I don't need that. I don't need that. Those are my bay windows. My vellum. 3 pieces of vellum. 2 pieces of vellum for my windows. Don't need vellum for my doors. This is the trim piece for my door. Now you may want to make your trim pieces obviously a different color than black, but I think I'm going to do my vellum pieces in sort of a bluish gray so I can see them more easily. Let's see what I can find here. What's a nice color for my vellum? Oh, that looks okay. We'll do that. All right, this is what we have, and we are actually ready to cut at this point. So I hope that was helpful.